I was a little bit rushed and I didn't get a chance to do the hallucinogens, and so I'm going to start back with ecstasy, which is only a mild hallucinogen, and talk just a little bit about the end of that because I already got through most of the ecstasy information. So we talked a little bit about it, the street name for MDMA being ecstasy. I think it's also referred to as Molly's now. Anyway, ecstasy triggers dopamine release. We already talked about that. And I think we also talked about it being a pretty popular club drug that emerged during the 1990s. The drug's popularity crossed national borders. There are an estimated 60 million tablets consumed annually in Britain in 2009 alone. There are, however, reasons not to be so ecstatic about ecstasy. One is its dehydrating effects, which, when combined with prolonged dancing, can lead to severe overheating, increased blood pressure, and even death. And there are music festivals I know that have EMTs on staff all of the time watching for this because it's popular to take music festivals, I know. Another is that long-term repeated leaching of the brain's serotonin can damage serotonin-producing neurons, leading to decreased output and increased risk of permanent depressed mood as use of ecstasy continues. Ecstasy also suppresses the disease-fighting immune system. It impairs memory, it slows thoughts, it disrupts sleep by interfering with serotonin's control of the circadian clock. Ecstasy delights for the night, but dispirits for the morrow. Okay, last but not least, hallucinogens. Hallucinogens distort perceptions and evoke sensory images in the absence of sensory input, which is why these drugs are also called psychedelics, meaning mind manifesting. Some, such as LSD and MDMA, ecstasy, are synthetic. Others include the mild hallucinogen of marijuana and other natural substances. The first one we're going to talk about is LSD. Chemist Albert Hofmann created, and on one Friday afternoon in April of 1943 accidentally ingested LSD, lysergic acid diethylamide. The result, an uninterrupted stream of fantastic pictures, extraordinary shapes with intense kaleidoscope plays of colors, reminded him of a childhood mystic experience that had left him longing for another glimpse of a miraculous, powerful, unfathomable reality. Those were quotes from partial quotes from him. The emotions of an LSD trip vary from euphoria to detachment to sometimes panic. The user's current mood and expectations color the emotional experience, but the perceptual distortions and hallucinations have some commonalities. Whether provoked to hallucinate by drugs, loss of oxygen, or extreme sensory deprivation, the brain hallucinates in basically the same way. The experience typically begins with simple geometric forms such as lattice or cobwebs or spirals. The next phase consists of more meaningful images. Some may be superimposed on a tunnel or a funnel. Others may be replays of past emotional experiences. As the hallucination peaks, people frequently feel separated from their body, experience dreamlike scenes so real that they may become panic-stricken or even harm themselves. These sensations are strikingly similar to near-death experiences, an altered state of consciousness reported by about 15% of patients who are revived from cardiac arrest. Many describe visions of tunnels, bright lights, beings of light, a replay of old memories, or even out-of-body sensations. Given that oxygen deprivation and other insults to the brain are known to produce hallucinations, it's difficult to resist wondering whether a brain under stress manufactures the near-death experience. Following temporal lobe seizures, patients have reported similarly profound mystical experiences. So have solitary sailors at sea and polar explorers while enduring monotony, isolation, and extreme cold. So flashbacks are associated with LSD use. These experiences can occur days, months, or even years after the initial trip. Flashbacks can be so intense, as intense, in fact, as the original trip, but because of their unpredictable nature, they're often terrifying to the user, and that is why, in part, they refer to LSD as being on a trip. Marijuana. For 5,000 years, hemp has been cultivated for its fiber. The leaves and flowers of this plant, which are sold as marijuana, contain THC. Whether smoked or eaten, THC produces a mix of effects. Synthetic marijuana, also called K2 or spice, mimics THC. Its harmful side effects, which can include agitation and hallucination depending upon the strain, led to its ingredients becoming illegal under the United States Synthetic Drug Abuse Prevention Act of 2012. However, we know that states have now legalized some uses of marijuana, and in some cases, full use of marijuana. Marijuana is a difficult drug to classify. It is a mild hallucinogen, amplifying sensitivity to colors, sounds, tastes, and smells sometimes, but like alcohol, marijuana can relax, disinhibit, may produce a euphoric high. Both alcohol and marijuana impair the motor coordination, perceptual skills, and reaction time necessary for safely operating an automobile or other machines. THC causes animals to misjudge events, reported Ronald Siegel in 1990. Pigeons wait too long to respond to buzzers or lights that tell them food's available for brief periods, and rats turn the wrong way in mazes sometimes. Marijuana and alcohol also differ. The body eliminates alcohol within hours. THC and its byproducts linger in the body for weeks or more, which means that regular users experience less abrupt withdrawal and may achieve a high with similar amounts of the drug than would be needed by occasional users. This is contrary to the usual path of tolerance, in which repeat users need to take larger doses to feel the same effect. A user's experience can vary with the situation as well. If the person feels anxious or depressed, using marijuana may intensify feelings. The more often the person uses marijuana, especially during adolescence and in today's stronger, purified form, the greater the risks of anxiety or depression. Daily use bodes a worse outcome than infrequent use. Marijuana also disrupts memory formation, interferes with immediate recall of information learned even only a few minutes before. Such cognitive effects outlast the period of smoking. Heavy adult use for over 20 years is associated with a shrinkage of brain areas that process memories and emotions. Prenatal exposure through maternal marijuana use impairs brain development. To free up resources to fight crime, some states and countries have passed laws legalizing the possession of small quantities of marijuana, some for medical and some for even recreational use. And in some cases, legal medical marijuana use has been granted to relieve pain and nausea relieve the pain and nausea associated with diseases such as AIDS, glaucoma, or cancer. In such cases, the Institute of Medicine recommends delivering the THC with medical inhalers. Marijuana smoke, like cigarette smoke, is toxic and cause cancer, lung damage, and complications in pregnancy. Despite their differences, the psychoactive drugs summarized in this table that I'm going to show you shares a common feature. They trigger negative after effects that offset their immediate positive effects and grow stronger with repetition. I'm going to just give you the whole sheet here, and that way you can just kind of relax and take a look at it. Okay. This helps explain both tolerance and withdrawal. As the opposing negative after effects grow stronger, it takes larger and larger doses to produce, for most of these, the desired high, causing the after effects to worsen in drugs' absence, which is withdrawal, of course. This in turn creates a need to switch off the withdrawal symptoms by taking yet more of the drug, which may lead to addiction. So something to think about. I don't know if, since we're doing this online today, I don't know if it's really going to work to have conversation, but maybe if your partner happens to be done about the same time as you, I had a kind of a question for you. So the United States has strained relationships with some countries due to cocaine trafficking. So for example, Peru, the cultivation of coca bush is legal, and as long as farmers sell the crop to the state, but studies show the farmers can earn much more money selling to illegal markets, making cocaine a problem for the developing world. Some leaders in foreign countries and groups within the United States argue that if the United States government cracked down on the demand of people who use drugs, then drug traffickers would not find dealing to be as profitable, and that would end the drug problem altogether, or at least it would work to end the drug problem. So, My question to you is, what should the United States government do to curb the drug trade? And have such efforts been successful in the past? And do you think that cutting off diplomatic and economic ties with drug trafficking countries would make any difference? This is part of the arguments that our president is presently using with regards to why he needs to kind of crack down on different countries and movement into our country from those other countries. Okay, thank you.